that results from concentrating on the road for long periods of time. It causes you to become temporarily hypnotized and lose track of where your vehicle is going. It takes less than a second of dropped concentration to cause a serious crash. The same can happen with falling asleep at the wheel. I've interviewed 2 people about their experiences with drowsy driving.
I stayed up all night before watching movies. It was a fun thing to do then. We'd stay up all night with friends. And
myself and a group of friends who were all about 19 at the time went out camping.
I remember making the right turn, but the 300 yards from that stop sign to where my accident occurred, I don't remember anything of it. So at some point in there, I'd fallen asleep.
On the way back, the guy driving the car that I was in fell asleep at the wheel on the highway.
And ended up waking up to hearing my friend scream my name and glass coming through the windshield.
When he awoke, he was heading towards a pole on the side of the road.
I couldn't get out my door. I was up against a telephone pole. There was a fence post that came through my windshield.
He turned the wheel so far that the car, sort of turned, skidded, and just flipped over.
The fence post had caught her ear, and I saw her bleeding.
I remember waking up, screaming the driver's name, and then I remember sort of flipping over a couple times.
Couldn't get out my side. I had to jump over her, get her out. I had to take my shirt off and wrap my shirt around her head to stop the bleeding. It's the only thing I had.
The next thing I remember was being, upside down inside the car, so I'm laying on the roof of the car.
I called the paramedics. It took them about a half hour to get there, and I just remember just watching the blood soak through my t-shirt as it was wrapped around the girl's head.
Luckily, everyone who was in the car, there were 4 of us, were okay.
My passenger had to have plastic surgery on her ear to repair what the fence post had done to her.
I had, for some period of time, a little bit of fear of being in, the back seat while someone else was driving. I also would not be able to fall asleep in a car anymore.
I was so annoyed with it. I ended up shaving my head after the whole accident was over. I was so annoyed and terrified there was more glass around. It was one of those things I was really, really afraid of.
The driver of the car, tried all those things to stay awake. He, told me later he turned up the music and had rolled down the window.
People tell you to, roll down your window, crank up your music to stay awake if you're tired, but that's only really a temporary thing.
The answer should have been to have somebody else drive or to, just pull the car over and sleep or something like that, but, we wanted to get back, so.
The tired feeling will still overcome you in the end, and you will eventually, something could happen, something bad could happen. And so when I'm tired, I either pull off to the road, take a nap, or I just don't drive at all.
To avoid accidents like that, you should plan regular breaks when taking long trips. And if you do become tired, you should pull over to a safe area and rest your eyes. Please don't try to drive if you're knowingly tired. Now, as a brief review, let's go over some guidelines that you should follow when driving on an expressway. You should always try to maintain a following distance of at least 4 seconds so that you can steer and brake out of potential problems. Carefully use minimal steering input. Excessive or abrupt steering can lead to total loss of control of your vehicle. When changing lanes, move only 1 lane at a time. Moving through multiple lanes in a hurry greatly increases your chance of causing an accident. If it's safe to do so, be courteous and move over a lane in order to allow drivers entering the expressway to merge easily. You want to keep up with the flow of traffic on expressways. If traffic is moving at 70 miles per hour, driving at 50 miles per hour is not safe and could cause serious accidents.
But what about keeping up with traffic that's traveling faster than the speed limit?
I know just the guy to ask.
That question's very easily answered. Should I keep up with the flow of traffic even though they're exceeding the speed limit? Very simple. The answer to that is no. The speed limit is the speed limit. If it's 55 miles an hour, it's 55 miles an hour, not 60. If it's 70, it's 70, not 85. The problem is people will be picked out of a group of cars, they'll be stopped, and they'll be issued a summons for speeding. And of course the response is, why did you pick me? Everybody else I was going with the flow of traffic, everybody else was driving fast. Well, the fact of the matter is we can only stop 1 car at a time, and it would just happen to be your turn. So no, the speed limit is a speed limit. If it's 55, it's not 56, it's not 57, it's 55 miles an hour.
Well, there you have it. So do either of you have any thoughts about the driving you've done today?
Well, merging is definitely a challenge at first. It's intimidating pulling onto the ramp and seeing those cars go so fast. Not that I didn't pay attention on the residential roads, but driving on the expressway really helped me better understand the importance of managing space. In the end, it's just driving. But you still can't lose focus for even a second, or you're in trouble.
Adam didn't do so bad. As a parent, you want to talk your student through the merge until they're comfortable in doing it on their own. But you've got to practice. And it'll take some time to get used to those high speeds, and I'll try not to use that mom brake anymore, but it might be a little bit difficult.
It sounds like Adam's getting the hang of driving on the expressway, and you will too, as long as you practice on a regular basis. The high speeds of expressways can be a little intimidating at first, but all the rules you've learned throughout still apply.